Happy New Year, everybody! I know it's around the 7th when you're watching this, when it's uploaded, but it's the 1st for me right now. Shout out to that one comment for the idea. I would have liked to upload this on the 1st of January, but didn't have time. So in this video, I'm gonna animate some fireworks in 10 seconds, then a minute, then 10 minutes, then a whole hour, and then 10 hours. The 10 hours is gonna be an interesting creative exercise, but let's head on to 10 seconds, see what I can do. Okay, my plan of attack for 10 seconds is just to draw some dots and then expand them. Draw some more dots further out. 10 seconds starts now. Blank first frame and then some of these, and then just they're out further, and then they're becoming a bunch of dots, and then become more dots. Yeah, I think I would have liked to do at least one more frame there, but let's see what we got. Yeah, not the most convincing. There's still a bit of motion to it, but yeah, it's just not very good at all, is it? Let's move on to a minute, see if I can pull something together. So, more frames, more depth, better shapes. Maybe I'll add a glow if there's time. Let's start the 1 minute right now. So, kind of doing, blank frame first, then some of these. Right, I'll just do more of them. Crazier ones in the background. Let's just go with that. Trailing off. Make them more ball-like at the end. I should still do a little bit of a trail. Just turn the onion skin off, it's in the way. And then I'm just gonna have a bunch of dots. I actually want the onion skin now. This should have a bit more of a trail. Oh, okay. Time's up. Okay. I don't know if that went well, but let's have a look at it. Okay, so the lack of onion skin near the end kind of did not work in my favor. But that's a bit more fluid than last time. There's a bit of wriggling around instead of just expanding. I think with 10 minutes we can flourish. I've looked at some references and I have a reasonable plan for this that I think would look decent and is easy enough to do in 10 minutes. I'll explain it as I go. So 10 minutes starts now. First of all, I'm gonna draw some dots in a kind of just circular fashion. Turn that into a symbol. So I'm gonna make this expand just by, you know, tweening it. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. It can start kind of small, get quite big. I'm gonna have 2 layers of these. So draw some more dots. So these are gonna move slower than the other ones. So we're gonna have like 2 layers of depth. Or maybe I'll do 3, but see, look at that. Wow. I'll change the easing as well. Now I'm gonna try and add a little trail to each of them. There are a lot, so I don't know if I can reasonably like do a good job on each. So just a trail leading to the middle, I guess, kind of. This might just be very scuffed, but I just gotta get the kind of point across. So I'll have the tail of the trail be almost where it was before, just slightly forward. So the trail's getting longer. It's also moving out. And then it'll dissipate. So these lines are pretty wonky, but in motion, hopefully it looks decent. Yeah, this is gonna eat up a lot of time. It's just repetitive. Kind of rolling the dice on whether this like works, but things always work out in the end. That's not true though. Things go terribly wrong all the time. Okay, so this is 15 frames. Oh, I have to hurry up. Rushing these parts. Might start dissipating the trails now. I might have them fade out also, like just, I might have the opacity go away. I don't know. I still have to do the trails for the second layer. Oh no. So I'm gonna make these ones a bit more scuffed. I want to add a glow if I have time. That'll fix everything. So I'm gonna disintegrate these, and then 2 minutes. It's a little concerning. Let's see, I'll turn this into 0 opacity. I want to have the thing shoot up. Then I'll add a glow. I don't know if the speed of this thing is gonna make any sense. Okay, I'll just add a glow to the whole thing. Filters, glow, white, and then I guess, I don't know, blue. 3 seconds. Let's just hope that looks good. Let's have a look, shall we? Yeah, okay, that's not too bad. I think I have succeeded in making it better than the last two. I think like 10 more seconds on the glow effects would have done a lot, but yeah, we got a little bit there. The fade out, pretty boring because it just opacity fades. So you know, we got a couple of things to work on for the 1 hour. Pretty solid anyway, but let's move on to 1 hour and see what happens. For this 1 hour firework, I began with a gradient for the sky, then drew a roughly circular arrangement of dots. Then I used a classic tween to expand it just like last time. I made some bigger dots in the middle that expand faster, and some smaller ones on the outside that expand slower. I decided to add a fourth layer in the back, and that made it nice and three-dimensional. Very similar to 10 minutes so far, but with twice the layers. Now frame by frame, I'm adding a trail to each dot. Quite meticulous. Once the trails disappear, I have the dots flutter out of existence by using a mask to erase parts of them semi-randomly. They also fade out with opacity. Of course, that was just the inner circle of dots, so now I'm repeating that whole process with the next one. It looks pretty good with the trails on just those two layers, so after that's done, I move on to effects. I like to add a white glow as a base, and then whatever colour the firework's going to be on top of that. Next was the actual firework shooting up. I classic tweened a dot moving up into the sky, then animated a scratchy trail following behind. You can see I attempted an initial blast frame, then quickly scrapped that idea. But now it's time to duplicate this firework and put on a bit of a show. I timed and arranged them using a variety of colours and positions to hopefully make it pretty to look at. This is the part where you just play around and have some fun. With 4 minutes remaining, I enhanced the background a little bit with some mountains and stars. Hey, not too shabby, right? Much better attempt than the 10-minute one, unsurprisingly. Pretty nice to look at. It's a little repetitive, also a little chunky. So with 10 hours we can probably get a bit more detailed with the fireworks, add some variation. Should be good. So let's move on to 10 hours and see what happens. We're starting off with the same approach for the first firework. Yes, I will be making multiple firework animations because I have 10 hours and it's good to have some variety. It'll make the final display more interesting, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I ended up only doing 3 layers of dots for this one, but I animated trails on all of them and spent more time overall. Now I'm putting in a quick blast animation at the start of the explosion, and I'm going to have the dots shrink out of existence. For the little rocket shooting up, I did the same thing as the 1 hour again, just being a little more particular. Time to animate a second firework. For this one I wanted the sparks to fly out and downwards instead of just out. I toyed with the idea of tweening some dots, but it just didn't go how I wanted. So I took the hand-drawn approach. I simply used my best judgment to draw these long trails following a path out and down frame by frame. I'll add more to that, but for now I'm making the second rocket. I could reuse the first one for every firework, but I have all this time and more variation is always welcome. After getting something decent for that second firework, I moved on to animating a third. I took a different approach this time by making a curve and copying that around a point. Then I can draw a spark flying along that path and disintegrating. I did the same thing with a straight line and arranged it into this big symmetrical shape. Now I'm animating the third rocket, and it's time to start thinking about what this whole scene will be. I planted a cityscape in the background and wanted to have some sort of focal point in the foreground. I went with the character sitting on a hill watching the fireworks. Drawing people is not my forte, but I'll get something acceptable eventually. Right now I'm adding some glow effects to the fireworks and starting to choreograph them, if you will. I had the little rockets shooting up separately from the firework explosions because I wanted some of them to shoot up diagonally while the explosions stayed not rotated. I also wasn't sure yet if I should keep the rockets white or make them the same color as each firework. I worked on the details of the fireworks some more, then went ahead and drew the person properly. To make it not totally lifeless, I switched between the original drawing and a slightly smoothened one every 2 frames, giving it that boiling effect. Now for lighting. I used a mask layer that covered the shape of the character and hill and put in a dark blue with a multiply blending mode, so the foreground will be engulfed in shadow by default. When the fireworks hit, I can erase parts of the shadow to act as highlights. I tried to be accurate with the timing and somewhat believable with the angles, but it was very generalized and vibes based. After that, I added to one of the firework animations and began on a fourth. This one had a similar style to the first, but the particulars of how it's drawn and the trails are a bit different. But the main difference is the dots are going to shimmer and blink as they fade away. And now I'm working on the lighting and arrangement a bit more. I thought a tree would look cool by the character, but it obscures too much of the sky. Any smaller and it just looks too small, so I put in a bush. As is tradition, I'm making the background fully in Photoshop to replace what I have. The textures and details I added to the foreground are honestly not that noticeable because of how much they covered in shadow, but I still think it's worthwhile. I remade the cityscape with some more interesting shapes on top of the buildings. Also added a whole lot of windows to the front layer. I painted in some clouds and thought a moon would look nice, but knew it could get in the way of the fireworks. So I made a small crescent that wasn't too bright. Now I have to place all these elements into Adobe Animate in the correct layers and make sure the masks fit. Then I finished animating the highlights on the bush and added another layer of blue that fades in and out for a smoother lighting transition. I decided to also have the glow color of the rockets match the fireworks, and that was the last piece of the puzzle. So, I'm fairly satisfied with that. The thing that bugs me the most is I probably should have had the fireworks kind of dissipate more slowly. It feels a bit sudden sometimes. Also, looking at it now, I think I could have gone with something bigger and better for the finale. I mean, it's a loop, but the end of the animation isn't very epic. Still, nice little fireworks scene. Could do with some more polish, but looks good, can't complain too much. And that's that. 5 feisty firework animations completed. I hope you enjoyed. Happy New Year. I hope you have a nice 2025. And that's it. See you in about a week.